Yes, you can retire on a cruise ship, and I'll crunch the numbers for you. But I needed a stiff drink to get through this one. Hello, my friends. First off, an apology. When I set out to make the itinerary of my dreams for you today, and it is a real stunner, I was not prepared for what I was about to see. So take a seat, and I think I'll pour myself a nice pint of Guinness. That's a spoiler for where we're headed, by the way, as I go through this with you because, well, I'm gonna need it. I've gotten comments from many of you asking me to do a video on European cruises. I did one on Europe a couple weeks ago, but that one focused on the Mediterranean Sea cruises, and the comments and requests kept coming in, so I'm betting what you're specifically interested in now is something with places like Ireland, Scotland, and England. And I get it. I'm very Irish over here, so no trip to Europe is complete without seeing those green hills and cliffs where my ancestors came from. But what I'm showing you right now is that Royal Caribbean really doesn't do many cruises up in that area, at least in the cruises they've released for the near future. As you can see, they do have a few, but they're usually one-offs. Just one cruise, and then it heads elsewhere, usually back to the Mediterranean. And that's actually a risky thing to do in this northern part of Europe, which I'll go into in a minute. But compare the options you're seeing right now to what you'll see when I switch over to Norwegian Cruise Lines. The options explode, right? For whatever reason, NCL has really dedicated a lot of itineraries to Northern Europe. So for this video, Norwegian Cruise Lines has won me over. I'm going to stick with NCL so that we can really dive into this part of the world. Before I say another word, I want to thank all of you who have subscribed to my channel. I've got over 4,000 subscribers now, so I'm almost halfway to 10,000 subscribers. That was more than I ever expected, so thank you. But so much more importantly than the numbers is the quality of the subscribers all of you are. I hear all the time how outright mean people can be on YouTube, but I'm just not seeing that among all of you. I think you've built a really supportive community of people here on my channel, and I'm so grateful for it. And you may be grateful for all these back-to-back sailings you're seeing popping up for Northern Europe for a lot of reasons. For one, a lot of your ports will require you to take a tender boat to get to land. And if you're a cruiser, you know what that means. That stop might get canceled if the seas are too rough. But if you're on back-to-back cruises, in the way I'm planning in this video, there's no need to panic, because you'll get another shot at seeing most of those ports. The other reason I like multiple stops at one port is because it will give you more time to see whatever it is you wanted to see. With these ports, you'll often have to take the bus or train, but usually a bus, to a lot of the castles and landscapes and historic cities and towns that you're probably craving if you wanted to cruise in this area. And those buses take time, and often the things you want to see are in opposite directions. But if you're going to be back at that port in a week or so, you can rest easy that you'll have other opportunities to see all the places you wanted. And there is so much to see in this part of the world. Honestly, it's breathtaking being so close to so much history. You'll be driving down a road on some shore excursion, and you'll happen upon an ancient ruin or medieval castle or other things that, well, let's face it, most of us just don't see in the United States. Our few castles are not that old by comparison to Europe's, and while we do have some incredible ancient ruins, they aren't generally so plentiful that you'll just casually drive by them on your way to someplace else. I'm a history buff, or really more like a full-on history geek, to be frank. So anytime I go to Europe, I get such a charge out of being so close to all that history. But there are some things I just won't get close to on a cruise, and it makes me think I'm going to resurrect something I used to do in my videos. That's right, it's time for our question of the week. And since I'm highlighting NCL for this segment of our retirement, I know exactly what the question is going to be, because putting this itinerary together for you is bringing back a very unique NCL memory for me. So the question is, what's your biggest cruise ship fear? Post your answer in the comments below. I'll get us started since it's from a cruise on today's cruise line, NCL. My biggest cruise ship fear is getting bit by a cat. Yep, you heard that right. because years ago, someone I was with on a cruise was actually bit by a stray cat when we were docked in Bermuda. The amazing doctor on our NCL ship treated her, and years later, I'm happy to report that she did not start foaming at the mouth, because rabies is always a real concern. So yep, while everyone else is going to post something like their fear of getting seasick or falling overboard or, well, sinking, I'm betting I'm the only person that is going to say my worst cruise fear is getting bit by a cat. So watch out for stray animals in cruise ports, everyone. But probably a more appropriate warning for me to share with you as we build this spectacular itinerary is that the weather might disappoint you in this part of the world. A lot of us get on board a cruise ship, and it's like all those Caribbean cruises we've taken have trained us into thinking that we're always going to get sunshine and warmth on a cruise ship. If you get sun on a cruise going around the UK, you can definitely consider yourself lucky. But it's so worth it just to be around all that beauty and history. So I doubt you'll be complaining much. And the questionable weather is one reason why you might have noticed that I'm putting us in an inside cabin again. I know there's a collective gasp from some of you right now. And I'm going to do a balcony cabin for my next video because the place I'll be highlighting is definitely worthy of a balcony. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss it. Gotta guess where I'm talking about? Post it below because I'd love to see if you have any idea. But for this video, the weather might keep you inside, a little more than you usually might want anyway. So let's save that money so we can do more cruising. Another reason why I'm going with an inside cabin is because when you're cruising this part of the world, you will be getting very few sea days, at least for this part of your back-to-back cruising that keeps you in Europe. It will be one port after another, so you won't even be on the ship as often as you might think. And why pay for a balcony when you're going to be out and about on most days, right? But the final reason I'm going to go with an inside cabin for this one is because, holy mother of all that is good, look at these prices. I'm breaking into a sweat just typing them into my spreadsheet as I make this video. And you can understand why I wanted to grab a Guinness, but let's be honest, I'm more of a margarita kind of gal. At this point, I'm wondering if this is going to beat out that ridiculously expensive Icon of the Seas that I did a video on a few weeks ago. So I'm bracing myself for the grand total at the end of this video. But on the upside, let's talk about the perks we're getting with these cruises. Yes, I am taking advantage of that lovely free at sea package that NCL offers us, even though it will cost me a bit more money because, honey, nothing is really free, right? Well, almost nothing. You can watch my channel for free. That's something. But anyway, the free at sea package gives you free drinks and some free specialty dining, which is not something that we got from Royal Caribbean for those other videos I've done. And sometimes you'll get other perks with the free at sea package that I'll discuss in a minute. So there are benefits of choosing NCL. And a lot of people say that the food on NCL is better than on Royal Caribbean. For me, I'm not really sure about that. Sometimes I'm convinced that NCL is better, but then I'll have something on Royal Caribbean that makes me change my mind. So it's kind of a coin flip for me. What do you think? I'd love to hear in the comments below. One other thing that NCL does that I love and value deeply is that they offer an across-the-board 10% discount right now to all of our military, whether you're active, retired, or veteran status. I'll put the link to that page in the description below, so be sure to look out for it if you're in the military. That means a lot to me, and I give them special props just for that. Royal Caribbean sometimes offers a military discount, but it's just on a cruise-by-cruise basis, and I haven't had much luck running into them. So if you're military or former military, be sure to get your discount from Norwegian. The other cruise line that runs amazing military deals is Disney Cruise Line, which I wasn't planning on highlighting since I'm thinking that most of my subscribers are past the Disney phase in their lives. I might be wrong, so let me know in the comments if I am. But I thought I'd share that in case you still do a Disney cruise from time to time and you're in a military family. In fact, I'll put that link in the description below too. But let's talk more about those perks you're getting on an NCL cruise when you get their free at sea package. When they say that they're giving you free drinks, just be aware that they're going to tack on a special gratuity just for the bartenders, and it will be a few $100s per cruise, depending on the length of the cruise. Same goes for the so-called free specialty dining. The dining gratuities won't be nearly as high as the drinking ones, though. These gratuities are in addition to their standard gratuities that I'll be tacking on at the end of this video, so it really adds up. They usually offer you some kind of perk they refer to as free excursions, too. But be a little wary of this one. Usually it's about a $50 credit you get, and it's listed as per shore excursion per stateroom. Sometimes they offer more, and sometimes they don't offer it at all, but that's the offer that seems to be fairly standard. But you need to remember that that discount only applies to the shore excursions you buy through the cruise, which tend to be a lot more expensive than what you'd get on your own. And those ones mostly run a lot more than $50. I can say with confidence that I've never booked a shore excursion direct through a cruise line and only spent $50 on it. There might be a few out there though. Let me know if you've had any luck in finding one. But for me, I think it's safer not to think of this perk as a free shore excursion exactly, but rather a coupon that will knock down the price a bit. And hey, coupons are great, so I'm not complaining. Finally, on some of the cruises, they will offer free airfare. Well, if you're doing back-to-back cruises, that won't get used most of the time anyway. For that matter, I've never actually used their free airfare because I've heard I don't get to control how many connecting flights I have, or what airline I'm flying on, or how long my layovers are, and things like that. And I'd prefer to stay in control of that myself, even if I have to pay for it out of pocket. I honestly hate flying, so I combat my hatred for it by sticking to certain airlines and direct flights whenever possible. I used to love flying, but I feel like it changed so much in recent years. Or am I just getting old and crotchety? Well, I hope not. Anyway, as I always say, that's just me. And if you've actually successfully used their free airfare perk, please let us all know your experience in the comments section below, because we can all benefit from each other's experiences and knowledge here. As you're seeing these prices come in, and maybe take a note of the fact that the balcony cabins are mostly going for about twice that price, you can hopefully understand why I went with the inside cabin. Like I always say, yes, I prefer a balcony, but for a cruise where I'm going to be off the ship a lot, I'm perfectly fine with an inside cabin if it's all I can afford. And these prices are pretty steep. But this is one truly extraordinary itinerary, because once you've had your fill of Europe, you're going to start to head south to Africa. And let me just tell you some of the stops you'll be enjoying, keeping in mind that most of these places you'll be stopping at several times, so that you'll really have time to explore. You'd see not just my beloved Ireland and Northern Ireland, but also Sweden, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, England, Belgium, France, Scotland, the Canary Islands, Portugal, Morocco, Spain, Norway, Finland, Senegal, Gambia, Africa's Ivory Coast, Angola, Namibia, South Africa, and Madagascar, giving you a real once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's amazing some of the places NCL's smaller ships in particular take us. When I was searching around the internet for the best itinerary to highlight for this video, I even came across one that starts off headed to Antarctica and then ends up all the way in Iceland. Talk about a shift, right? So if you'd like me to do a video on that one, let me know in the comments below. And while I was kind of freaking out when I saw those numbers coming in on each individual cruise, because they're a lot higher than we usually see in my videos, right? I'm realizing now that actually this total that we're approaching is not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. The higher cruise prices were because they're longer cruises than we often do. And because they're longer, that means less cruises are needed to fill a year. So here we are, winding up our 6 months on the Norwegian Dawn, and we're at $72,269.20. Then to get the estimate for an entire year on Norwegian, we'll double that, and we're at $144,538.40. But wait, there's more! You're going to spend about $14,600 on standard gratuities on NCL, which is their current rate of $20 per person per day, if you're in a standard cabin, which is over 10% higher than Royal Caribbean right now. But frankly, I think the crew deserve it. But yes, remember that you've already paid additional special gratuities for those so-called freebies on specialty dining and open bar, so it's really adding up. And now our total is $159,138.40. And don't forget that NCL does not include port fees and taxes in these numbers. So what about my worry that this itinerary would exceed the cost of even the ridiculously expensive brand new Icon of the Seas? Nope, as usual, I worried for nothing. Isn't that the way it generally goes? Worry is such a waste of time, yet I do it anyway. Give me a thumbs up if you do it too, so I know I'm not alone in this. So for the record, the year estimate on the NCL Dawn is more than 60,000 less than the estimate we got in the Icons video. And just think of all the places you'd see in this itinerary as opposed to the Icon, which was just sticking to the Caribbean. So I'd love to know which one you'd prefer. A year on the enormous, shiny new Icon out of Miami, or a year on the smaller, older NCL Dawn, exploring so much more of the world. Let us all know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I do a happy dance every time I get a new subscriber, and hey, I need that reason to get out of my chair after making all these videos. Thanks so much for watching, subscribing, commenting, and making this YouTube channel such a friendly and supportive community.